Hey y'all, I'm Sunny Shell, and tonight Bre and I are talking Electric Universe with Professor Dave. So sit back, buckle up, and let's get to the sunny spot on Skeptic Haven.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray.
Hey, how are you doing today, Bre?
I'm doing all right. I didn't know we were doing Women Atheists Unloaded.
I know.
I know.
Hey,
Sorry.
you know
We could. I think Dave's beard might be too thick for it tonight, though. For Women Atheists Unloaded.
That's okay. It's
Producer problem. Producer problem. Sorry, people.
If that's the worst that we do, we're still going to be doing pretty good. And we just have fun. We have fun here. We talk about cool things. So who really cares? Bre, you're looking lovely as usual.
Yes, it was a kind of a rush. I think a lot of us were in a rush to get in here this evening because we're a little bit earlier than usual. That's all right, though. I'm happy to be here because of who our guest is.
I am so excited.
Yeah, so in getting his take on the electric universe is going to be amazing. So you want to go ahead and bring him in?
I think we should. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, everybody.
All right, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, Dave was just on my channel last week talking about his recent debate, but it seems to be the buzz of the town lately is your debate with James Tour. So if you haven't seen that, Dave has that up on his channel now too. So go check it out.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a crybaby show. Bliss. That's what they say in the South. Bliss.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, well, I understand you're not feeling all that great. So I want to thank you even more for coming onto our show because I think we know how that is.
No worries.
Really
yeah, I'm a trooper. I'm a little fuzzy, but I think I can manage.
Well, we'll have your show linked in our description, and we want everyone to check you out. Of course, everyone would have to be living under a rock to not have seen your channel. And if they haven't, then they're really missing out. So they need to check you out.
Yeah.
So today,
what series are you working on right now, by the way, on your channel?
Oh, I'm a bunch of stuff right now. Earlier today, I was working on more geology content. I'm doing ecology. I'm doing psychology, economics, anthropology is coming up. Yeah, a bunch of stuff.
You are what you do and how you help people get through school. Thank you, Dave.
Happy to do it. It was so great after the debate. It's because I'm not in person with people that often. And so after the debate, there's so many students that were like, you helped me through this class. I was like, oh, I need this every once in a while to like remind me that like, this is good.
Yes.
This is good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about electric universe. And this is quite an interesting topic. So we might get a little silly on this, and that's okay because this is kind of a silly thing, but it's really being taken seriously. And so that's why we need to talk about it. So if you could just tell us, what is electric universe for those who don't know?
Sure. So yeah, it's a couple years ago that I did a bunch of debunks on this, so I'm a little hazy on it, but I think I can remember most of it. So, I mean, electric universe is a term that was coined, I think, in the 90s or whatever. But anyway, it all goes back to this guy, Immanuel Velikovsky, who in the 50s put out this book, and he had all these really zany ideas about the early solar system, and that a planet, I think it was Venus, that emerged from Saturn and shot across the solar system, and this, another planet used to be Jupiter, used to be a star. So I forget the exact details, but just complete nonsense. And so, but that gained some popularity at the time with people who liked to, just like weird ideas. And the decades passed, and then these other factions sort of took some of these ideas and tried to like make them more science-y and just develop all these really kooky alternate cosmologies and alternate ways of looking at astrophysics and things. But ultimately, they're all like supremely pseudoscientific. So electric universe is, as far as I understand, was mainly Walt Thornhill, David Talbot, like these guys. They started that whole thing. and they just had just a bunch of pseudoscience that they were peddling with that. There's Sapphire Project. There's other little things on the side, and some of it is derived from plasma cosmology, which was something that was being discussed in astrophysics up until around the 70s or the 80s, when Big Bang cosmology really took off. And that was because of discoveries with the cosmic microwave background radiation and things like that, where we realized that Big Bang cosmology just far and away dramatically better explains the data, the phenomena we observe. So, but there's people who kind of cling to this thing from 40 years ago, and they're like, no, this is a better way to look at it. And the astrophysics community is just like, what are you talking about? So anyway, it's just sort of a term that encapsulates a bunch of pseudoscience in the astrophysics space, and it ensnares gullible viewers who enjoy an anti-establishment narrative and like to rage against physics, and they like the feeling of saying Einstein was dumb and I'm smarter than Einstein, and things like that. So it's in a nutshell.
Yeah. So it's sort of in the same vein as flat Earth, but
not as dumb as flat Earth, but it's nowhere near as dumb as flat Earth. It's very dumb. But flat Earth takes the cake as the dumbest thing any human could ever possibly believe. So,
yeah, but don't some flat earthers kind of find their way to this as well?
Yeah, but so the flat earthers will latch onto anything. They'll latch onto anything. So some of them latch onto electric universe, because the thing is that flat earthers have to pretend that gravity isn't real, because gravity doesn't make sense on a flat Earth. And so with electric universe, they're trying to pretend. There's some of them say gravity isn't real. Some of them say gravity is real, but it has an electromagnetic component. And flat earthers love electromagnetism because they like to pretend that they understand electromagnetism. But at any rate, yeah, in electric universe, they're all a big part of it is trying to downplay gravitational effects and pretend that what we use gravity to explain, that it's actually electromagnetism that explains even like planetary orbits and orbits of comets and things like that. That is not gravity. All kinds of things. Yeah, they try to downplay gravity. So that's why flat earthers like to use that.
So excuse me. When it comes to things like what they call the weak gravitational force and such, how do they accommodate for those different forces in nature in this electric universe model, as far as you understand it?
Well, I mean, yeah. So the wackiest ones just pretend gravity isn't a thing at all. But then Wall Thornhill, who actually passed away recently, but his whole thing was the electric gravity. So he was trying to incorporate electromagnetism into gravity, and is some kind of a hybrid or something like that. But he would always have these diagrams with these little instantaneous dipoles on particles and things to pretend that it's like an electromagnetic attraction that would say keep us on the ground instead of gravity, which of course anybody who knows anything about physics, it doesn't make any sense. Right? Bulk matter is electrically neutral, right? And so I made one a long time ago, a very short electric universe debunk, just kind of looking at this basic stuff, where it was like, hey, if gravity had electromagnetic component to it, you could test it, right? You could test objects of varying magnetic properties. You could do all of these things and try to observe some kind of difference in their motion. It's not. Things accelerate 9.8 meters per second squared to the ground. Doesn't matter what their composition is. Doesn't matter if it's a bar magnet or if it's a rock or if it's a tennis ball or whatever it is. So clearly, it's just mass. It's based on mass, not any kind of electromagnetic component. Then furthermore, just we very, very, we understand celestial dynamics very well, right? The orbits of the planets, the orbits of the comets and everything. We know exactly what's going on. We know how to predict where a comet is going to be at any time, right? Based on Newton's laws, which are based on gravity, which is based on mass exclusively. And then furthermore, bringing it into relativity and Einstein, a big part of it. So general relativity is a theory about gravity, right? It's an update from Newton's paradigm. It's a better model that explain certain things that Newton couldn't explain. Like, for example, the perihelion precession of Mercury. There's something a little bit strange about the way Mercury orbits because it's so close to the sun. And so it's because of the dramatic warping of space-time very close to the sun. But that's why relativity was able to explain it, and other things too, like stars that are really close to the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. It models that motion very, very well. And of course, like the existence of black holes in general is because of gravity. So like electric universe people have to deny black holes. They have to deny gravitational waves. They have to deny gravitational lensing. They have to just say none of it is real. So yeah.
And I want to correct what I said. I said weak gravitational force. I meant weak nuclear force. They're saying that that's electrical too.
Weak nuclear force. I don't know what they say about weak nuclear force. I mean, obviously, like nuclear decay is a thing. So I don't think I've ever heard them talking about that force. I mean, they agree that atoms exist, so strong nuclear force has to exist. I can't say that. I'm not sure what they say about those.
Okay, no worries. I was just wondering.
Well, earlier you had brought up a couple of names, and I believe you said Thornhill and Talbot. So can you tell us who Wallace Thornhill and David Talbot are?
Yeah, so these guys started the Thunderbolts project, and this is like this was the leading thing in the electric universe realm, and so they would have these little conferences, and they would make these videos, and so those guys would take, so like Velikovsky was big on like the mythology aspect of it, and they were trying to keep going with the mythology aspect of it, and so they have these like, you know, the kind of people who like ancient aliens and stuff like that. That was their target demo, because they did this whole thing of like, look at these symbols from all these ancient cultures, and they all saw something in the sky. Like there was another sun that wasn't that sun; it was a different one, and then there was lightning in the sky, and it carved all these geological features on Mars and things like that. And it's just, I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just made up nonsense, essentially. Like there's no planetary scientist or astrophysicist or anything anywhere that remotely entertains any of this stuff. It's just some made up nonsense.
It almost edges on Chariots of the Gods, you know, like
that's part of it. Yeah. No, it's in line with that. Yeah,
exactly. Link it all together. It's all one big meshed mess.
Yeah.
And Chariots of the Gods. Who's that written by? I read that like in college. Who's that written by? Do you
it rings a bell, but I don't.
Talking about the precession of the planets and lightning making craters and stuff. Yeah. Wild stuff. And ancient aliens get tied into that too.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So what is the Thunderbolts project that you mentioned?
That's just like what Thornhill and Talbot named their thing. I don't know. I know exactly what the extent of the business entity was, but it was a YouTube channel, and they would make videos, and then they would hold conferences. That was, I think, kind of their main cash grab, was these expensive conferences where people could go. And so it was comprised, like some of the people had actual degrees in something, like maybe not doctorates in physics. So a couple of them, I think, had doctorates in physics. So it's like it was essentially a handful of people that were educated, but had these delusions of grandeur and like wanted to be the next Einstein, but so aren't. So they just made up something dumb and pretended it's better than Einstein. And then just a lot of lay people who just got seduced by this idea of like, I'm going to go look at this cool space thing that is better than what scientists think, because I'm on the cutting edge and I know this secret, and NASA is lying to us, and you know, Einstein was a dummy, and this is the new paradigm. I mean, I don't know, psychologically that's like the bent to it, but that's it. Space themed pseudoscience to make money on the internet.
It's that book was written by Eric von Daniker, though. So von Daniker, there was a Fingerprints of the Gods that was by the alternate history guy. What's his name? Graham Hancock. Yeah, that's another one.
Okay, yeah. So very much like
all these woo people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the perfect parallel, because it's something that's happening now that a lot of people are latching onto, and everybody in that, you know, in anthropology or paleontology or that would know about this kind of stuff is just like, this guy's an idiot. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. ignore him. But
They gave him his own show.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sad state of affairs right now with platforming pseudoscience, and just because
YouTube,
people want to see it, and so somebody will make it. Yeah.
It's also kind of my bread and butter, though. So I do like to respond to idiot science.
It's
I
true.
think you do too. Yeah.
I wouldn't have as much work to do if it wasn't for you. Yeah.
Yeah, you do it.
So,
You're the best, I think.
yeah, absolutely. I would say that.
The Minuteman. You're right up there with him. Yeah, go ahead.
There you
go.
The last name I wanted to mention when it comes to this is Emmanuel I always get the name wrong. Velikovsky. Can you tell us about him and how he relates to the electric universe?
Yeah, so he's the grandfather of it all. He was just kind of this crackpot who in the 50s put out these books. What was that book called? Man, I'm just blanking on it. He had that book that came out in the 50s that like a lot of people were really into, and it was he just made up a bunch of ridiculous stuff. Like, forgive me, I may fudge some of the details, but he had something about a planet emerging from Saturn. I believe it was Venus, that it emerged from Saturn and flew across the solar system to settle into its nearly circular orbit. I mean, it's just things that like forget the fact that there's no basis for them. Like, why do you think that? What kind of physical evidence do you have for that? That certainly doesn't exist. But it also dramatically contradicts basic orbital mechanics, right? If something has a near circular orbit around the sun, it means it formed at the same time as the sun, right? You have a planetary disk, and the sun is forming, and the planets are forming, and everything is going around that barycenter. If it has a near circular orbit, it doesn't make any sense that something would shoot across the solar system and somehow make it into a circular orbit. It would have a wildly elliptical orbit like comets do. Right. So it's not only that he was just pulling things out of his ass. It's also that it very profoundly contradicts everything we know about orbital mechanics and celestial dynamics. So it was a dumb book. It was a guy who wrote a dumb book, but people really liked it. And so it just sort of echoed through the decades until you have these other grifters, Thornhill and Talbot, these guys who want to do a scam, but it's easier to do a scam when you go back in time and lift something that comes ready-made, like prepackaged with vernacular and talking points. And, it just, you don't have to make it all up from scratch. It's easier if you take something somebody else lied about. So they hold up Velikovsky in high regard. And then they kind of lifted a few other little things about solar physics and things like that. And just made this little monstrosity of pseudoscience, space-themed pseudoscience. And then they go and they give their little talks and they do their little conferences and they make their videos, and that's who they are or were in Wall's case.
Have you heard any responses from any of them about the James Webb Space Telescope yet?
Right. So that was one that I had to do because about a year ago or 9 months or something, there was this whole thing of like James Webb proved that the Big Bang didn't happen, and everybody was talking about it like, wow, did you hear? And it's just like, no, it didn't. So you have to go and hunt this stuff down. And it was a clickbait video from this channel called Future Unity that got a couple million views. That was the culprit for disseminating it, but they didn't make it up. They're just regurgitating clickbait. They lifted it from this guy Eric Lerner. So earlier I was talking about plasma cosmology. So this was a guy who is pretty old now, but has been clinging to this obsolete type of cosmology called plasma cosmology, which without going into details, just fell by the wayside. It's like germ theory versus terrain theory, right? Or it's something that we were entertaining a long time ago that then became obsolete because we got a better understanding of things. So sometimes, and people are peddling terrain theory these days and pretending viruses aren't real and things like that. And that was 150 years ago. So Imagine that. But so plasma cosmology, you just have these couple of people hanging on to something that is just not, it just is incompatible with data, where the cosmic microwave background radiation, and just recession velocities of galaxies and all these things. There's all this data that just far and away, Big Bang cosmology, far and away, just so much, just dramatically better explains these observations that nobody credible in the field entertains plasma cosmology. But that just means there's a couple of these kooks on the sidelines who don't publish, who aren't part of the scientific community, that just cling to it, and they're like, no, my thing is still the thing because I'm the new Einstein and I'm smarter than everybody. And then just year after year, more discoveries happen, gravitational waves happen, where we directly image a black hole and like all these things, and they're just like, no, that's not real, that's not real. This other guy, Sky Scholar, who I did a debunk on, same thing. So they're buffoons and nobody takes them seriously. But they still can mobilize not large amounts of people, but they have their little audiences that are ensnared by this mentality of like, I'm smarter than all the physicists. They're all wrong and dogmatic, and they're clinging to a failing paradigm. And I'm part of this wave of the new physics, and it's so cool to be in on the new thing. And they're just completely delusional. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you talked about the planet zooming out of another planet and having its own. It's just weird, but
yeah,
they've also talked about the birth of planets, or that planets actually give birth to comets. Can you talk about that? What
I
what
just
are we
knew
talking
about the
there?
Venus thing. I don't remember what they think about how comets form. I just know that they think that cometary orbits are electromagnetic in nature, that so they have this whole, it's really, really funny. So I did a whole debunk on Wallthorn Hill, and I spent like 20 minutes on comets because the guy won't give it up with comets. And he's just like, everything you think about comets is wrong. They're not dirty snowballs, you idiots. They're these electrically charged things, and it's all, and the sun is like a is like there's an electromagnetic interaction that's causing comets to go around the sun. That was this whole thing. But then the problem was we kept landing on comets. We sent stuff, right? We sent crafts to first impact a comet, so we got a lot of data. Then we sent a craft to physically land on a comet. It landed on a comet and looked around and picked up part of the comet and got all this data. And and Wall had the balls to like make all these predictions, and just like nothing he said was even remotely right. Everything we knew about comets, we continued to know about comets, and then learned more about comets. It was in line with what we already knew about comets, but he just kept like pretending that he was right about comets, to the point where people will come to my Wall debunk, not watch any of it, and go, "Ha, you think comets are dirty snowballs?" It's like, dude, in this video you're too afraid to watch, I spend 20 minutes comparing everything he's ever said about comets to everything we know about comets, and proving that he's immaculately wrong about comets. Please press play and graduate from this delusion. But so that's all I know about comets. I don't remember offhand what they think about cometary birth. Yeah.
They have some weird ideas about Wolf-Rayet stars too, and the way that their lights, the way that it's dust. You look at the picture, and the explanation is dust. This is dust around, like, but nope, it's electric pulse that you're seeing from similar to what the Sapphire project's putting out images of.
Yeah, Sapphire is another thing. So that's its own little branch that's
Offshoot.
more about the solar physics aspect. So that's like a cold fusion scam. But that's like an actual scam. Like they take $25,000 donations, and it's just your money.
Oh, wow.
You're setting your money on fire. Like they're not doing anything. They don't do anything. I did a whole debunk on Sapphire, and I actually personally corresponded with the only plasma physicist that was part of the team, and he was just like, yeah, they paid me for a couple years and I had to quit. Like, these guys are idiots. Like, they don't understand physics. They don't even understand what they're doing. I had to teach them basic, like, undergraduate physics. They have no clue what is going on, but they make these like pictures that are like, look at this picture of this thing we're doing. They don't publish data. they're not an actual like scientific institution that publishes papers in the peer reviewed. And I've even looked at Monty Childs is the main guy there, and he has little interviews with these dumb like Electric Universe channels, and he's like, yeah, I made the decision that I could publish data and most people wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, and so I just figured, like, what's the point? I'm like, yeah, physicists won't understand physics, right, buddy? You don't need to publish
Yeah.
any data. Just put out pretty pictures and go, see, it's cold fusion or
Pareidolia is what it is. Everything
Yeah.
that they say is this is electric is because they see something that's corresponds, like the way the electrons circle an atom or whatever,
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. No, what happens is like he pretends that he's doing fusion, that he made a fusion reactor, and he'll say like, oh, we measure blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, that's part of the device. Like he's reporting the presence of part of a piece of the material that's in the reactor. It's like he has no clue. Like, yeah, they're just grifters, and so not too many people are investing in that, but some do. And then they're like, oh yeah, like Lockheed is investing and like NASA's investing. No, they're not. No, they're not. Someone told you that, and you believe them. Nobody's investing in these clowns. But yeah.
So you mentioned general relativity
Mhm.
earlier. What are they claiming about general relativity, and especially about the expansion of the universe? How all of that works?
Yeah, I mean, general relativity, they just say is wrong. Einstein was wrong. General relativity is dumb. Einstein is dumb. And really very little else. And what they hide behind is that like every time Wall would talk, he'd just be like, it's just a bunch of math, and it's just math, and math is dumb, and math doesn't really explain. I mean, because he couldn't do math. But the irony is that like if you look at like derivations of Maxwell's equations for electromagnetism, it's just pages of math, like differential equations, lots of math. I actually did some tutorials on those for my channel, and I had to get help from a physicist because I was like, I need help. I need you to write this for me because it's very advanced math to get to derive Maxwell's equations. So it's like it's ridiculous. But yeah, they basically just say, oh, it's dumb, and because math, we don't need math. And it's wrong. I mean, it's really, I wish I could say more.
We don't need math.
Yeah, except for
Don't
this
need
one
math.
guy. Hang on, there is one guy. What is that guy's name? There's this one guy. He's an Australian guy. I'm blanking on his name, but he's like Wall's best buddy because he is the only one who will like try to like prove Einstein's math wrong. And he'll do all this stuff, and he like kind of does understand math, but he's just lying about it. So I can't remember that guy's name, but I think I might do a debunk on him at some point. But I would need help.
So Einstein is to Electric Universe as Darwin is to young Earth creationists.
Yeah, I would say that's a reasonable comparison. Yeah.
That's a very great comparison.
Mhm.
And as far as young Earth, these guys aren't young Earthers. They believe in old.
No, yeah, I don't think. No, yeah, they are not. Yeah.
So, well, so far it's that sounding better than young Earth creationism and flat Earth. Not much better than young Earth creationists, but
yeah, it's way better than flat Earth. It's better than young Earth creationists. But it's just, I mean, it's just a bunch of made up nonsense space stuff. I mean, it's really not too, like you can, and I have about 4 or 5 debunks on this now, all from a while ago. And so each kind of dives into the specific flavor of that charlatan or this charlatan or this charlatan. But yeah, it's all ultimately the same thing.
you get a mixed bag over at Professor Dave Explains if you're going for debunking.
Yeah. So, but they all have a unified. I mean, they kind of all come together. They might have like different flavors of it, but they're like all together on the same page.
I think they all disagree with each other and
Okay.
hate on each other.
Yeah, I would not say that there is a strongly unified aspect to any of it. I mean, the only thing that unifies them is they all go, physics is wrong, right? The physics in the colleges is wrong. The physics that the physics students are learning is wrong. That's the one thing that unites them. Then they don't agree on anything else, but they're all part of the same team because they're all like, the real one is dumb. That's
So
like,
it's like religion. They're all different
Yeah.
versions of Christianity, I
yeah,
guess.
different sects of Christianity. Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's why they have all these little conferences, and like the like everybody will be saying different things that are incompatible with one another, but they're all just like, yeah, because they just go like, Einstein was dumb. Yeah, yeah, one of the most brilliant people to ever live, and one of the greatest scientists in the history of science was an idiot, and you are a genius. Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
Yeah,
So
what-
what?
Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say, what are the what I've heard them go after Hawkins too. Do you know anything more about that, or any details about what their opinion is on Hawkins?
Hawking,
equations?
they'll go
Hawking,
over,
yeah.
they'll go after any famous astrophysicist because that's part of the establishment, right? And Hawking specifically did a lot of work with black holes. In fact, he discovered, it's called Hawking radiation. So he discovered that black holes actually dissipate or evaporate over very, very, very long timescales. So yeah, just they'll go after. See, here's the thing: it's not like they have to attack legitimate physics, but they just go after the famous ones, right? Who's more famous than Einstein and Stephen Hawking, right? Those are the two that everybody, because it's the crazy hair guy and the wheelchair guy, right? That's who everybody knows, right? So they'll just go after that because it's like better in the title of a video, or oh, somebody will click on that because they know who Stephen Hawking is. They don't go after, they don't like peruse the current scientific literature and try to critique a paper from some physicist that the masses don't know who it is, right? They'll attack Neil deGrasse Tyson or something instead, who's not even, he's a science communicator, But yeah, Hawking, I mean, any real physicist, they will hate and slander, essentially.
Do they completely just not believe that black holes exist, or do they have a different explanation for it, or say that it's something else?
Yeah, they don't believe that black holes exist. I on top of my head, I would have to go back to the Sky Scholar one because he would have so much content about how black holes aren't real, and then they imaged a black hole, and so he has to do all this damage control of like, that's not really an image of a black hole, and he has to make up what that would be, that it's not a black hole. So it was like 2 or 3 years ago, so I can't remember honestly what he thinks it is. What does he think it is, or what does he say it is? I don't remember what he says a black hole is, but I remember what he says the cosmic microwave background radiation is. He says that the satellites are pointed the wrong way and they're picking up Earth's oceans.
Oh, of course. All makes sense now.
This guy is so stupid. I can't even believe it. It's this near perfect black body spectrum in every direction in space, but no, it's the oceans, because the guys are like, oh, I don't know which way to point it. Guys, like,
yeah,
so freaking stupid.
There's somebody with a joystick, pointing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, in the electric universe, how does water stick to a sphere?
Yeah, so I mean, depending on who you ask, because yeah, this is why the flat earthers like it too, right? No, honestly, this is why they like it, because they want an electromagnetic explanation for why things stick to the ground. That's what it is. Or fall to the ground, I should say. So I think it depends on who you ask, because I think some of them acknowledge a mass-based component to gravity, but that there's also, it's like it doesn't even make sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense on any level, because they want to introduce electromagnetism to things like planetary orbits or cometary orbits. But the great revolution that Newton provided was to unify the space and ground. What Newton did was he took Kepler's laws of motion for the planets and everything, and then he took like what Galileo did with motion down here, and he went, holy smokes, it's the same thing. It's these equations, it's all the same thing, right? What governs what the planets are doing, what governs when I throw a rock, same thing, right? So that is the case, and that's what we've known for hundreds of years. So when they start going, oh, it's not how we think it is, it's for space, then they have to figure out how that pertains to terrestrial motion too. And I don't know. Like I said, Paul has done this electric gravity thing with the little dipoles and stuff, which are actually just, if you studied chemistry, they're London dispersion forces, which we know about that. It has nothing to do with things falling down, right? The problem is that electromagnetism is both repulsive and attractive. And so bulk matter, it just cancels out, right? Just try to get a magnet to stick to you. It doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But gravity is only attractive. There's no repulsive component to gravity. So even though it's much weaker than the other forces, on a cosmic scale, it wins. It's the only one that matters and on the cosmic scale. So yeah, that's it.
Oh, we got to clip that. That was a good explanation right there. I think everybody understands kind of the idea what the magnetic universe people think about or where the problem arises in trying to transpose celestial down to terrestrial. And we have formulas for that in the real model, but
Newton's law of universal gravitation, we can use that to figure out where a cannon will land from a cannonball. And if we want to send a probe to Enceladus, we use the same equation. It's the same calculations. More complicated, but it's the same concept, So
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically thinking that electromagnetism is the force that is the I mean that it's what am I trying to say? How am I trying to say this?
Yes, governs celestial dynamics, governs galactic formation. There's these big electric currents running through the galaxy, and everything's zapping around, and everything's connected by these currents. And it's just they're not there. It's not a thing. It's not there.
So did they team up with those people who say that there's like vibrations and we all speak in a certain vibration? And
not really. So that would be the quantum mystics. I think it's possible that quantum mystics maybe reference electric universe, but I think even electric universe would try, because they're trying to appear very scientific. So even they would laugh at probably the quantum mystic. I think. I don't know. Maybe they would.
Who was the guy? There was a guy that did the rocks held memories and things like that. That kind of seems like it might fall into this. I did a thing about it just a few weeks ago. Let's see if I can't pull that up. You all talk amongst yourselves.
Well, really quickly, let me see if I can pull it up here. We do have a super chat. Hold on just a second. Okay, there we go. I think there's two of us trying to get it up there. Logan Fisher gave us $1.99. What is your favorite topic to debunk, Dave? That's a great question, Logan. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I've really carved a niche for myself with the creationism stuff. I mean, just like I've just been having so much fun with the Discovery Institute people. They hate me so much because I've just been like lacing into them, and then with what I did to James Tour, I mean, the damage control over there is so that really makes me happy that I'm doing this much damage to this like horrible propaganda mill that's trying to erode away the separation of church and state, because the stakes are really high. So I feel like it's really, really important. Like Electric Universe is just some idiot grifters trying to make some cash on the internet, and so I want to debunk that too. But this other thing, like theocracy, is a much bigger threat than some space grifters. So, and I'm uniquely suited for it. I know some things about physics and astronomy, but I'm much better with chemistry and biochemistry and biology. So I'm really on point with that stuff, and I've done them so much damage that I feel like I'm on a roll. And so I'm going to keep cruising through the Discovery Institute roster and nail 3 or 4 more of those guys.
I found it. I'm making this a request for you to try to cover it. They were called the Dragon Project, or the Dragon Project Trust. They think that rocks store memories and stuff. You'll find it fascinating, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Right up there with water memory.
Water memory, yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. The what was it Tim Minchin said about the onion having memory and the drop of the water that it lived in.
Yeah, I've heard that honey has memory too. So,
Yeah, but hey, I really want honey to have memory because I love honey.
I do love honey.
I want it to remember me. Now, so I had another question for you though. I've also heard that they talk about the stars and how the stars shine, or if the stars shine. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So I don't remember all of it, but I know that if gravity is not a thing, or at least is not what physicists say that it is, then the accepted model of solar physics can't be, because stars shine because of gravitational pressure, right? So you have this enormous amount of mass all crushing inwards, right? And because of that gravitational pressure, it gets unbelievably hot, millions of Kelvin, and that's so hot that fusion can occur. So you have hydrogen nuclei, basically protons, whizzing around, and they fuse. And every time they fuse, some fraction of the matter is converted to energy, and so you have fusion. You have the energy of fusion pushing out, and you have gravity crushing in, and so there's an equilibrium there, and that's a star, right? A star is burning, it's running through all the hydrogen in its core, and then eventually it can fuse helium, and then eventually there's different stages to the stellar life cycle depending on what fuel it is fusing. But none of that works if gravity isn't what physicists say it is, because now you don't have all of that crushing in. So I can't quite remember. I think I talk about it on the Sapphire one. I think I talk about it on the Wall Thornhill one, where I actually really rigorously went through all their stuff and made the debunk and everything. But it's something, I mean, they think that there's these currents, like they're like little light bulbs in the galaxy, and there's like streams of electrons coming in, but then also there's the solar wind coming out. So I don't know how they think that particles, negatively charged particles, are both attracted and repulsed from the sun. But there's just so much wrong with it, and like neutrinos, they can't account for neutrino detection. But yeah, anyway, they're just, the way that stars work is all wrong to them, and it's this other thing that they pulled out of their ass and does not make any sense and does not correlate with anything that we see in the universe at all.
Yeah, that's I can't even I just cannot even understand how they can think these things. I think that the thing that makes it so important for us to talk about, even though I agree with you that theocracy is a far greater threat, it's like we're living in an age of mis and disinformation that used to just be fringe, and now it's like it's coming out into the mainstream, where people are actually believing this kind of stuff in larger numbers than we've ever seen.
Yes.
And I think that's what the most dangerous thing is about that. Why do you think that is? And that's kind of a very general question. You think the internet?
The internet, right? When Sagan did his Cosmos series in the 80s, which was this brilliant, Carl Sagan, this astronomer, turned to public outreach, and he made this TV series for PBS. I think it was on PBS. That was just, this is about the universe and how stars are born and die, and how all of these incredible things in the universe. And you had all these people in their living rooms. They didn't know anything about astronomy, and they were, oh my God, this is incredible. Astronomy is so cool. I'm into science now. And so it was just this amazing moment in SciComm, early SciComm, and you didn't have there was no internet, there was no message boards and flat earthers going, Sagan is a NASA shill, and debunking the Cosmos series. It didn't exist then, but it does now. And so, as you said, you have all these things that would be fringe, that would not be able to get out of the tiny circle of the one or two kooks in the town that are thinking this way. They all connect. And then their influence is magnified, and then they're able to infect others. So this is the seedy underbelly of the internet. This is the downside, where the democratization of information is it has a lot of upside to it. I think on the whole, it's a net positive, but this is an enormous drawback that is probably the greatest existential challenge of this century that needs to be dealt with swiftly and efficiently. How to figure out how to help people know what is true.
Have you seen the people we're electing?
Yeah.
Right. That's another symptom of of this
Yeah,
era.
Jewish space lasers and this Candace Taylor lady talking about. She's a flat earther.
You're right.
She
Yeah.
went on like a flat Earth show. She's
And she is a what? A candidate for what?
she, governor of Georgia.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. It's so bad. You've got to watch her video of her talking about, oh my gosh.
Yeah, if I could
It's
pull it
enough
up,
to
I'd
just,
show you now.
it's enough to just totally blow your brain completely. And it feels like um uh, uh, there's so many people trying to debunk, and you're one of the great ones. But it feels sometimes like, you know, two steps forward
Futile.
and one step back in a way. Just as you get one, you end up
Yeah.
having two more come up out of the woodwork. But
Yeah. It's 10 forward and 9 back, in fact. But as long as you get that one, yeah, it's tough. It feels futile sometimes, but I maintain that it is not.
I was
yeah,
one of those ones, so thank you. Not
Mhm.
you specifically, but the kind of messages that you put out. Those
Mhm.
kind of communicators tried to pull me away from it. I was into some woo and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I think it's interesting. A lot of us who deconvert from Christianity in particular, or maybe Islam or something like that, we end up going towards woo. It seems like a lot of us go towards woo, and then some of us are able to kind of get out of that grasp too.
Yeah. It's sequential.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that way.
Mhm.
I think that one of the things that we need is better education on how to discern, credible from non-credible sources. Do
Yeah.
you can you think of any other things that might help us in this quest to get us out of this disinformation age?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because if you find something that resonates with you, if you really, really want to believe that Einstein was dumb and you're smarter than Einstein, if you really want to believe that, and who knows why, maybe you really hated science class and you just want to feel like you were above it all along or something, these kind of biases, it's really hard to inoculate against them. But I mean, to those who are receptive, I think number one, there needs to be more skepticism in general. Everybody needs to be more skeptical. I think that in a weird roundabout way, what's going on with AI might contribute to an uptick in skepticism, because we're just going to end up getting so avalanched with fake content everywhere. Most of what you see will be fake, and the whole world will have no choice but to become skeptical and think that everything is fake until shown otherwise. I think that might be the silver lining of this of what's going on with AI right now. Is just like, I think so. I met somebody who called it epistemological breakdown or something like that. I think
That's fascinating.
I think it's a reasonable prediction, because it's going in that direction where it's just most of what you see on the internet is it's bullshit. So
Hmm.
we have to know that and be skeptical, look at many sources, compare it, talk to many things, look at many things, etc. And yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we have about just a little over 10 minutes left, and I kind of want to touch on one more thing before we totally leave the electric universe, because this is something that I just thought was very interesting, and I almost forgot to ask you it. Um, in electric universe, they have an interesting claim as far as the impact craters that we see on the moon and so forth. What is their theory on impact craters?
Magic lightning bolts in space did it. So yeah, number one, where are they? Why can't we see any lightning in space anywhere ever? Right. I think that would be my first question, is if this is the thing, where is it? But also it's just not needed. I mean, everything about crater impacts is well understood. I mean, the first debunk I ever did on this idiot Ben Davidson, who does this suspicious observers, I didn't try too hard because he just did a light. He attacked me a little bit. Later he attacked me more, so I buried him. But when he just first attacked me a little bit, I just looked for a little bit of him talking somewhere on the internet, and I found this one thing where he was talking at Wall Thornhill's conference. He just any idiot who has something to say about this stuff, and he was talking about features of Mars, right? He's talking about features of Mars where there were crater impacts that were like near Valles Marineris. There were like some craters, and he was like, why are they on this side and not that side? Completely neglecting to see that on the other side there were volcanoes. It's like, what did volcanoes do that might cover up crater impacts? Can you think, buddy? So it's just like they try to do this like it's the only explanation. Lightning carved this feature. It's like, talk to anybody who knows what they're talking about, and they'll debunk what you just said in 5 seconds. I'm not a planetary scientist. I could figure that out. There's no basis for it whatsoever. They just need something like, who doesn't like lightning? Lightning is cool, right? Lightning is crazy.
Yeah,
lightning bolts. It's neat. It's cool stuff. So there's lightning in space, and it's the only way the craters can happen, and therefore it's real. And then that ties it into all the drawings, which by the way are totally made up. It's not like they actually found cave paintings. Like they made that up too, but they're like, they all saw lightning in the sky, and it's like, well, okay, maybe even if it's real, maybe they just saw lightning. It's a thing that happens in the sky sometimes, But they're like, no, it's happened in space, and there was lightning in space. I don't know. It's just the dumbest. It's so stupid.
It was the gods fighting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I couldn't have us go completely off the subject without asking that. I just thought that was the whole thing is just silly, but
Yes.
There's different parts of it that made me laugh a little bit more than others, and that was one of them. The stars shining, how the stars shine was another one. I just thought that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, Bre, before I go on, I don't want to talk over you. Do you have any other questions?
I just wanted to ask if of the conspiracies that you have had to debunk, which one was the most fun?
I mean, Flat Earth is the most fun because it's so stupid. So it's like I can get the saltiest with that. I can get really sassy, and I feel justified because it's just the dumbest thing imaginable. So Flat Earth, I mean, I had to move on at some point because what are we doing here?
The shallow pool.
I made like 8 of them, and then I was like, okay, I think we're done here.
They kept responding.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were making good money, so I did them for a while. But I mean, the Glowbusters one, like, I have like 14 million views on that thing. Like, I've made a good chunk of dough on that video. So it's like, all right, I entertained it a little bit, probably longer than I should have for monetary purposes. But yeah, now, I mean, but I'm having a ball with the creationism stuff because I'm seeing really the tangible ramifications. I'm like the Discovery Institute, they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off because of my actions. It's just so satisfying. So yeah,
that is cool. I was going to ask you a follow-up to Breeze. Is there someone that you enjoy debunking more than the others?
I mean, it's been very satisfying, the James Tour stuff. I will say that's very just because, look, the more that someone attacks me, the more I'm going to hit back, and the more satisfying it's going to be to watch them crumble. So the only people who have done this are the Glowbusters first, and then Ben Davidson did it, and I buried him, and then James Tour did it. And it's like, if he had just shut his mouth after that first video, like none of this stuff would have happened, but he just kept pressing and pressing. So I'm like, all right, what do you want to do, bud? Like, this is all right. You brought this on yourself. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, and the Discovery Institute, they keep publishing hit pieces on me. So I mean, like, how do you guys not understand that I'm going to bury you now? The more that you do this, the more I'm going to. Every additional hit piece you put on me, it's one more guy on your roster that I'm going to debunk. Like, what? It's just, learn a lesson here, guys.
Yeah.
But like
It's
Walt
like a-
Thornhill, Walt didn't do anything. I put out a big debunk on him, humiliating him. I didn't hear a peep from him, and so I haven't done anything on Electric Universe since. Smart.
Yeah, that is pretty smart. I
Yeah.
think it's a badge of honor to to actually
To get
have
the debunk.
the Discovery Institute and
Oh, yeah.
and those actually trying to
Flipping out this much.
yeah it's
Yeah, it's
actually
like if I'm
going
so
after you.
dumb, why won't you guys shut up about me at some point?
Yeah, they write blogs about you and everything, and all their
Yeah.
articles.
Oh,
You're
one
quite
other
the
aside
fan.
that I just thought of. There was, I don't know if you guys caught this moment in the debate where it was the only time that me and James Tour were even remotely aligned on anything. And it was in the Q&A. Some idiot was an Electric Universe guy and was like, I want James Tour to comment on Dave Farina's cosmology. And he was like, what? We were both like, what is this guy talking about? And then I figured it out. I was like, are you like an Electric Universe guy? He's like, yeah. I don't like your Electric Universe debunks. And it's the only time that me and Tor were like, this bozo. It was so funny.
That was one of the best debates. Well, I don't even think it was a debate, though. It was
not really.
It was just so hilarious. I want to ask you why you won't go to the board. There's chalk there.
Why? What am I supposed to write there? What am I going to write there? It was pointless. It was a stunt.
This is going to get people to want to go and see it because they're going to be like, what are you talking about? And it was really nice of them to give you a gift at the beginning as well.
It was quite a dumpster fire, in my opinion.
Was a stunt too.
Yeah.
He was playing a role. He was playing the role of the good Christian. Remember in the Q&A when he has to say something nice about me, and he's like, I never said he was dumb. He has a channel full of chemistry tutorials. And then I pulled up his list of insults. Dave doesn't know chemistry. His content is a manure dump, blah, blah, blah. So I'm calling him. It's like these people are two-faced, right? He'll spew hot garbage at me, but then it's like, I am a nice Christian. See, I'm giving him a compliment. I'm giving him a gift. Die, right? It's just like, it's ridiculous. So that's not going to change anything about what I'm doing. I'm exposing you. You're a fraud.
Yep. I think
a lot of people misunderstood. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bre.
I was saying a lot of people misunderstood what to expect if they hadn't been following your all's back and forth online.
If they don't know the context, then fine.
Yeah. See, I've been following you guys for 2 years.
Yeah.
Cat fighting about this and doing videos on each other. So there was a lot of core mythos, if you will, to what was being said there that went over. Everybody else in the audience thought you were just being mean for no reason. It's like, no, there's a whole history here.
Can't be helped, but I'm not going to change my strategy.
Right. Although I think you did a really good job of kind of bringing up a lot of that history in some of the, you tried to make that case.
I try to contextualize it. Yeah. What he has been ignoring in all of his content, people he has been slandering in all of his content. Right. Yeah.
Right. And plus bringing in all of the, it wasn't just that. It was also showing the actual, like, here are the research papers. And you haven't read them. Here's the points that actually debunk you, and also you've been a dumbass for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think
that was the whole point, was to look at the research. That he picked up chalk was a dumb stunt. He was posturing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming on our show, especially when you're not feeling very well. That's awesome. Thank you.
Go lie down.
Yeah, go take some medicine and lie down and have a good night. Do you have any closing thoughts for us?
No, yeah. I mean, Electric Universe is one of those really funny things that I don't even think about that much anymore. I kind of did like 4 or 5 and then kind of left it. But it is funny. It's very funny stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Bre, what are you going to be doing in coming up on your show? This Saturday, be looking at the Flying Dutchman and kind of talking about superior and mirages and things along that line. Always fun. Saturday morning at 9:30, or no, I moved the time slot up. Now it's 11:30 a.m. Join us live from the Hive, and we'll debunk some bad science and have fun.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, if you enjoy the kind of work that we do here, you have a couple ways that you can help us. You can like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all those good things. That's totally free. Or you can consider joining our Patreon. And I want to thank our current patrons. We have Sydney Davis Jr., Eric Ozols, Tara S., Ryan, Deneen Murphy, Dan D., Michael Wiseman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, and Phil Calderone. So thank you guys so much for.
Don't forget to check out our other shows at Skeptic Haven, the Secular Soapbox on Wednesday, Thursday, the Sunny Spot, where we are every Thursday night. Come join us and hang out. We always have something fun to talk about. Saturday, we got the Global Atheist and Women Atheists Unloaded. And let's talk on Sundays, the college show. So yeah.
Yeah, we got some great stuff. And if you want to help us, we have lots of volunteer opportunities for you. We have a lot going on. So if you want to join our group and help us out, just send us a message on Facebook or on YouTube or any of our other social medias. So in the meantime, before we leave, always remember to think critically. Good night, everybody.